to get started. Welcome everyone to the February 13th Western Placer Waste Management Authority meeting of directors. Happy to have you all here, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Director Gore.
Please join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And really quick, we do have one change to the agenda. We are going to move item 9C up to after the statement of meeting procedures so that we can make sure to be respectful of everyone's time. So with that, if we can move to roll call.
Director Hadeschelt.
Present.
Director Reedy.
Present.
Director Halden.
Here.
Director Gore.
Here.
Chair Landon.
Here. And will the clerk please read the statement of meeting procedures?
Thank you. Welcome to the Western Placer Waste Management Authority meeting of February 13th, 2025. Agendas are available on the table outside this meeting room. If you are here to speak on a matter not on the agenda, you may do so during public comment. The board is not permitted to take action on items addressed under public comment. All items on the agenda will be open for the public to address before final action is taken. Accessibility information is provided on the meeting agenda. Please turn off or put in silent mode all cell phones and other electronic devices. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much. We will move to item 9C, approval of a purchase and sale agreement with Sierra College for purchase of WAMA property.
Thank you, Chair Landon. I think that's why everybody might be here tonight. It's a big crowd. Staff is here to, with a recommendation to authorize the chair to execute a purchase and sale agreement with Sierra Joint Community College District for the purchase by Sierra College of approximately 50 acres of property on the Watmas campus located west of Fitiment, north of Sunset Boulevard, west and south of the PG&E high voltage transmission lines at a cost of $22,000 per acre. We also would like to recommend authorize the general manager to take all such actions as may be necessary or appropriate to implement the terms of the PSA, including without limitation approval of the legal description of the identified property and to be purchased and approval of the final sale price based on the legal description. So a little bit of background on this. This has been going on for, I think, 2 years now, back and forth. We're really excited to be at this point. There's been a lot of work that has gone on. The WATMA staff have been meeting with Sierra College for over 2 years, as I've said. I've been involved for the last 6 months since I've been here. And, you know, we have, over the course of the meetings, we've come to the agreement, negotiated a sale price of $22,000 per acre, which we believe is agreeable by both parties, a very fair price. The proposal, as you will see in the exhibit, option 1, exhibit A, it has 2 different sites that will be evaluated by Sierra College, where they can decide on one of the 2 sites, depending on the access of Fitiment or Sunset. They will have 700 days to determine which site works best for this facility. And then at that point, they'll move forward with the sale. Initial deposit will be $100,000, followed by the $1 million after they have decided to move forward and pick their site. A couple other items in the agreement that are noteworthy is that there's a 99-year right of first refusal where WATMA can buy the land back at a fair market price if it is up for sale. And also there's a 10-year if Sierra College fails to initiate and diligently prosecute construction for the proposed PSTC, within 10 years of executing the PSA, the WATMA has a right to retake possession of the property upon return of the purchase price without interest. There's a couple other things. Sierra College has agreed to a couple of minor items with the design that were in the best interest of WATMA, with the direction of the shooting range, not to be pointed to any landfill activities or housing, and also a 1,000-foot ceiling on on the flying of helicopters into the property. So obviously, this would be this is a good fiscal impact for WATMA, an additional $1.1 million on acres that are not to be used for landfill. It fits with our overall goal of compatible technologies and regional, regional compliance, regional activities. So we're very excited about moving this forward, and staff is here for any questions that you might have at this time to us or to our counsel, Rob Sandman, who was integral in putting this together.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
One quick one. So I'm totally new. I'm not going to have you backtrack in 2 years of history. But if you could just walk me through where we got the 700 days, where we got the 10 years, and where we got the 99 years. What was the basis for those walk-back numbers? I'm
going to let Rob answer a little bit. The 99 years actually is what we're projecting to be the lifespan of the landfill.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you, Director. As Scott noted, the 99 years is roughly coterminous with lifespan of the landfill, and that's a pretty long time for a facility like this. We felt that was a reasonable period of time. 10 years is, there's a need to evaluate the two sites. About roughly 2 years was a product of negotiations with the community college district. And having a 10-year look back provided reasonable time for the district to pursue prosecution of the facility and to have some type of outside window to keep a little bit of at least a time frame in case it did not go forward. It would not sit out indefinitely.
So the 10's after the 700 days?
That starts actually at the execution of the agreement. So.
Okay. And so what you're saying by 99 years is that we won't be here on year 100. The facility would be operating somewhere else. Is that what I'm understanding? What you mean by 99-year lifespan? We'll have to be somewhere else at that point?
Well, yeah, well, the landfill capacity will be full here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
At least that's anticipated,
Right.
right?
Correct.
Because we were at 2030, we thought capacity was going to be done by 2030. And with the changes in regulations and reduction in materials going into the landfill, it's.
Right. It could be longer depending on the state of California.
Our goal is to get another 25 years on top of that, but.
Thank you.
Great, other questions? Well, I noticed that the acronym is RIPSTIC, so that is now what I'm going to call it.
It's
So.
hard.
No more questions? Okay, then I will open it up for public comment.
Well, thank you very much, Chair Landon. I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words. I first wanted to start by thanking Scott Schultz and the staff at the WATMA board. He told me I had to do that. If I was going to make public comment, I had to say nice things about him. He really did.
I did.
But actually, I mean it. So I just want to say thank you for all the work that you guys have put into this. And this has been a little bit of a long venture, but I think well worth it. We are all, I think, well aware of what is the importance of tonight's action, which is really just the land transaction. But what it represents is our community coming together to ensure our future for public safety. And I brought my entourage with me. Mm-hmm. And I do want to mention a few people and give some others an opportunity to speak. But I just would like to say that, Sierra College has public safety training programs in both police and fire, and we have for a great many years. But it's our partnership with our agencies that makes our programs so vibrant. And if we look at public safety and the challenges for public safety that we're all facing today, whether it be law enforcement agencies and the kinds of things that they're dealing with, whether it be our fire departments and CAL FIRE and the kinds of issues that they're dealing with. Also, younger people choosing other things to do and maybe not coming into public safety careers at the same level that they used to in the past. We think a public safety training center of this nature is going to help change that and is going to allow our local agencies to be able to train the workforce that they need to keep our community safe out into the future. So that's really the core of why we're interested in this, and we really do think it's a great public-public partnership with the Waste Authority and allowing us really to do this together. And so I'm really happy for you to have this at your table tonight to be able to decide on. I do have a couple others I'd like to call on to speak, but I first just kind of wanted to recognize the folks in the room, if I can just take a minute to do that and recognize them. From the City of Rockland, Chief Rustin Banks and Chief Reggie Williams from Police and Fire are here with us tonight. Thank you. They've supported this effort all along the way. From the City of Lincoln, both Police and Fire, Chief Alves is with us tonight. Thank you for coming, Chief Alves. Appreciate it. Also, from the county CEO, Daniel Chatney's here with us tonight. Thank you, Daniel, for coming. Appreciate you being here and expressing your support. And then Assistant DA Dave Tillman is here with us tonight. Thank you, Dave, and he's wearing a Sierra College jacket, which I love, so appreciate that. And then Assistant Chief Brian Mackwood from CAL FIRE and Placer County Fire is here with us tonight. And then I also brought some folks from Sierra College, Amy Schultz, who is our Executive Dean of Workforce and Special Initiative, or Strategic Initiatives. Amy is with us. And Jill Alcorn, our Dean of Biz Tech and Public Safety, most importantly, is here with us tonight also, too. And so I appreciate them all taking the time to be here.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
You missed a chief somewhere in there?
Did I?
Yes, Chief
Steve Rose?
Troy Bergstrom.
Oh, no, it's coming.
He hasn't gotten through yet.
I said I had a few that I was going to call on to speak, but I wanted to introduce some others first. So
My apologies.
you're quite, you are right on target and have set me up. I'd first like to introduce Sheriff Wayne Wu to say a couple of words. Sheriff Wu.
Thank you, Willie. Good evening, board members. Like the President said, my name is Wayne Wu. I'm your Placer County Sheriff. I'm happy to be here tonight, kind of hopefully taking one step closer on what really has been something that's been very conceptual and hopefully getting closer to reality for us here in Placer County. In public safety, we're all struggling with adequate training facilities right now with where we're at and where we sit today. I think you would all agree that the highest trained professional public safety officers really lead to the high quality of life that we have here in Placer County. And I do believe we have that now, and this facility will ensure that we have that long into the future. We appreciate our quality of life here in Placer County. This public safety training center will set us up for success in the future, being able to not only do training for our current workforce and meet all the state standards, but also train new recruits with our own, hopefully, full-time police academy and this partnership with Sierra College. The also unique thing about this training center compared to many others just in our region is that we'll be partnering with our friends in the fire service. And I think the collaboration that we have with the fire service is critical, more critical now, I think, than ever before when we look at the way we've evolved our responses to active shooters, when we look at the wildlife, wildfire urban interface issues that we face here in Placer County. And those are all things that I think we will be able to address by having this training center. So I'm in full support of this training center. I believe it's extremely important for our future here as a county and the future of our quality of life. And for that reason, I ask for your support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm not trying to control your public comment, but
that's great.
I did. But I wanted to now introduce Placer County Fire Chief and CAL FIRE Chief Brian Estes.
Thank you, Willie. Well, good evening, Chair Landon, members of the board. As Willie said, I'm Brian Estes. I'm the Placer County Fire Chief. And, you know, I just want to echo a few of the words that Sheriff Wu said and really focus on the word collaboration. As we sit here in this room tonight and in the projected or prospective area that this training center is planned for, it's a representation of all the agencies that are represented in this room tonight and more that not only train together but work together every single day. And a significant incident here at this facility on any given day would seek resources from County Fire and City of Roseville, City of Lincoln, and Rockland. And we're used to that, and we value that. And as Wayne said, there's not a single incident that we respond to in this county that we don't have a law enforcement partner with us right by our side as we are making those unified decisions. And that's something that we value. In my 35-year career, I've seen a lot of models across this state and across our region, and I can honestly say that the collaboration and the relationships and the trust that we have between police and fire here in this county is something that is very special, and it's something I don't take for granted. I also want to, as Willie already announced, but I want to really recognize Reggie Williams, our fire chief from the City of Rockland, and Ryan Harrigan, City of Roseville fire chief. I'm not sure if Ryan. Oh, there he is. He just made it in. But, we share as elected officials for the Western Placer County Fire Chiefs Association, which is that next level of collaboration and unified decision-making for the betterment of public safety in Placer County. So I'm very, very proud of this. I want to thank Willie for his leadership and Sierra College's leadership in this project. And as Wayne said, I'm in full support, and we ask for your support. And thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much, Chief. Now, as Mr. Hauteschelt requested, the police chief from the City of Roseville, Mr. Troy Bergstrom.
Thanks for always looking out for me. I appreciate it. But he wasn't going to forget me. So I'm Troy Bergstrom. I'm the chief of police for the City of Roseville. On behalf of myself and Fire Chief Ryan Harrigan from our fire department, we are both in support of this project. Not to repeat everything that Wayne and Brian said, because everything they said is exactly what I believe as well. The other piece of this is if you look at the way we train today, for the most part, we have to leave and go somewhere else. Whether that's new training of new trainees, we have to send our people to Sacramento to get that training. A lot of our in-service training, we have to go somewhere else. One of the biggest pieces of this project is a track for emergency vehicle operations. Every single one of us has to go somewhere else to do that because we don't have the availability, or we're finding parking lots in our cities. That's not a way you do EVOC training, is in a parking lot. And so to have a center like this, something that can provide all that in one area, both for our new hires to build our workforce, for our current staff to keep up with state standards, this center will provide all of that. And the way this has been planned, there's not going to be another place like this in California. And to have it right here in our county, it will attract workers for us. It will train the workers we have to be the best that they can be. The one thing I look at, and the number of times I've talked about this center, is the people that are all here, you cannot get us all in the same place at the same time. Our schedules are nuts. Trying to put us all in a room together is difficult. Yet every time we talk about this training center, every time we have a meeting about this training center, every one of us is in that room, and that's because of how important this center is. So on behalf of myself and Chief Harrigan, we are very much in support of this program, and we hope for your support too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Bergstrom. Appreciate those comments. Last thing I wanted to leave you with was that the Sierra College Board of Trustees did approve this agreement at their board meeting on Tuesday with a 7-0 vote, and they are very excited about this partnership with you, and so I would urge your approval of this agreement. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Willie.
Madam Chair, if there are no other questions or comments, I'll move the item.
Great.
I'll second, but
Okay,
I
yes.
think we probably will have some comments.
Yeah, I would like to make a couple comments, but thank you for being concise. Go ahead.
It's rare.
I'll go ahead and start. First of all, I do want to say thank you all for being here. And I really do appreciate it. It's been quite a journey, a lot longer than had anticipated, a couple of curveballs as we talk about, being responsible with our ratepayers who have funded the property across the street. But it's land that can be utilized. And I think what I really appreciate is you talk about collaboration. We are so fortunate that all of you are willing to collaborate. And now it means we're going to have to do a lot more collaboration after this because this is just the land. Actually getting it built will be a lot. But it is unusual that we have people willing to come together to actually put innovative projects together. And I just really appreciate the willingness for people to keep slogging through to get us to this point. And I really do think that because of where it's situated, it's a really good use. We can't use it for future landfill operations based on the power lines. And so it's just a really excellent use for our community in the future.
Just want to echo what Director Gore said, and add, that we've had a lot of meetings with many of you over the years. Chief Banks and Chief Williams and Rockland have been reminding me to keep moving this forward. And as a board, I think that we've been, we were looking for a way to make this happen from the start. So it's great to be here tonight. I'd like to just mention former directors, Carlstein, Andriata from Lincoln, as well as Scott Albert from Roseville, who spent a lot of time working on this as well and helping to make this happen. So they're not here tonight, but I'm sure that they will be watching to make sure that this moves forward as well. So thank you.
Great, thanks. Any other comments?
Yeah, in 2019, when I first got on the council, our fire department did a Fire 101 with the community and citizens, and we had an opportunity to be at that facility, be in the burn box, climb the tower and everything else. That's a really confined site. I've seen, as I've gone by the fairgrounds, although I don't know what the acronym EVOC stands for, but I've seen the use of the parking lot in front of the McNally Racing Facility used. So, and thank you, Chief Bergstrom, for pointing out that this will be a time saver for folks who have to go train somewhere else, and something that attracts candidates here. So all of you represent departments that are best in class, and you're recognized by your peers statewide as being in an area that supports public safety. So thank you and for being here tonight.
Great, thank you. All right, well, I'll say I feel very safe right now having all of you in the room, so thank you. And I also just want to say, I'll echo everything they said, so I won't repeat, but just really, really appreciate the law enforcement and fire working together, even though I know you guys like to riff each other. It's really nice to see everyone in the same room working for the same goals, and I just appreciate each and every one of you and the time that you've put in, and hanging in there for 2 years of back and forth, and having a son who's thinking of law enforcement. This is very exciting to think about the option that he may have in the future too. So thank you all. And now we have a motion by Director Houdeshelt and a second by Director Halden. Yes, sorry.
Confirm that the motion includes all three actions listed on page 57 of the agenda.
Does your motion include all three actions?
Yes, and I won't read them.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, after we take the vote, could I ask everyone just to not jump up and leave so I can make an announcement? That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Do I need to do roll call, or is it I can say all in favor? Was that a yes roll call?
Yes.
Okay.
Roll call vote, I
Maybe
would
have a
recommend.
roll
Thank
call,
you.
please.
Yeah, absolutely. Director Reedy,
Yes.
Director Halden,
Yes.
Director Gore,
Yes.
Director Houdeshelt,
Yes.
Chair Landon.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And now I will give it over to Director Gore.
Thank you. Well, since you are all in the room, this is such an excellent example of why this was just announced today. The International Economic Development Council, IEDC, is proud to name 11 exceptional professionals as 2024 industry leaders. As the largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization for economic developers, IEDC commends these individuals for their dedication, innovation, and significant contributions to the field. These professionals have led groundbreaking initiatives, strengthened economic resilience, and made a lasting difference in the communities they serve. Their work continues to inspire new approaches and set the stage for future advancements. There are 11 individuals throughout the country who have been named, and our very own Willie Duncan has been named Community Partner Award. And I want to say, this is so well deserved, and This is an example as why you were chosen amongst hundreds and hundreds of other people who have been nominated, Willie. It's because you work so hard to make Sierra College not only a community partner, but meet the needs in our community of our business community, the jobs that we need in our community, whether it's nursing, mechatronics, public safety, whatever it is. Now with Bosch coming, you get to the table, you and your team, as I see your colleagues here, you make it happen. You don't just talk a good talk, you make it happen. And so this is such a great example. Thank you for taking a leadership role in our community. I mean, this is tremendous, and this is a big deal. So I just want to say thank you. It was a great opportunity to share this with all of our colleagues.
Okay, with that, we will continue on with our meeting. Thank you so much and congratulations. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
We will move on to item 5. I'll just wait 2 seconds. Yeah.
So he was selected, or he's,
Yeah.
or he was,
He won the, yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's going they're going to have an awards thing in Washington, D.C.
Okay, great. Yeah, sometimes, you know, you get these finalists, but then they're right. So-
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Bonnie.
Really
Yeah,
cool.
I saw it. Gloria sent it out today. I was like,
Thank you for the nice words, Bonnie. I really
you are welcome. Congratulations. Thanks, Willie.
thank you guys all for your support.
Okay, we will move on to item 5, election of officers.
Okay, this is more like it. It's the time to elect the officers for the calendar year 2025 and establish the board voting order. As we've laid out in the memo, it's the board's decision to go any way you guys want, but over the course of the year, if we follow the history, it would be County of Placer District 1 as chair and vice chair, City of Rockland. First vote, City of Roseville. Second vote, County of Placer District 2. Third, City of Lincoln. Fourth, City of Rockland. And the final vote would be County of Placer District 1.
I do have a question, and so we recently at the Board of Supervisors started, and I know this is probably more complicated, but so that there wasn't one person who always had to do the first vote every time, we rotate each vote, so it starts with that first person, the next time it starts, you know what I mean? And we don't typically have a ton of votes here that we have to do that, but that was just one thought I had when I saw it, just so that Roseville, I mean, unless Roseville wants to always be the first
I think
one.
that's a very prudent way to do it.
Okay. I don't know what the rest of you think, if you care.
Somebody will just have to keep track.
I know. Sorry about that. Okay.
With the final vote still being the chair?
Yes. Yeah. But again, I'm open to if other people have concerns
I
about
think
that.
that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
I'm indifferent.
Okay. All right. Then with that, is there any comments or questions on this item? Okay. Anyone in the public? Okay. Then do I have a motion?
So I'll move to approve with the voting order being rotating for each one, as stated with that one change.
Do you also want to add to your motion who's going to be chair and vice chair?
Oh, I was approving the staff recommendation with that one
In
change.
addition. Oh, all right.
With the voting order change. So as written with that change.
Got it.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Moved by Director Reedy, seconded by Director Halden. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Great. Well, then that means I'm done, right?
I can chair the meeting and I'll just stay here, which
Okay,
is
that
totally
sounds good.
fine. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Just more work for me, which is awesome. I love that.
Congratulations.
Okay, let's go ahead and have regular public comment. This is an opportunity for people to address the board on items that are not on our agenda. Anyone in the audience like to make public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment, and we'll move to item 7, which is announcements and information. And Scott, we'll start with you. Report from the general manager.
Okay, thank you. First, I'd like to announce the retirement of a longtime employee, Deanna Olmstead, from WAPMA. She had been here for over 17 years, working in the scale house the entire time.
Wow.
Wow.
And I believe her last day was today or yesterday. So we wish her well as she moves on to new adventures. Another thing I'd like to really acknowledge Will Scheffler, which is sitting down right there, two down from me, and his entire ops staff, Sarah Lyon, Adam Lindsay, and Justin Pace for their efforts specifically all the time, but over the last 2 weeks, there has been a lot going on, and this small group really spearheaded and continues to spearhead a successful effort to contain contaminated stormwater on site until it can get properly disposed. This has been an enormous lift. It's still ongoing with the rain we've been having. It just adds to the issue. And we have had someone on site 24 hours a day, almost every day for the last 2 weeks. And this has really all been led by Will and his staff, and it is a small staff to be doing that. So we really appreciate his efforts for that team. It's been phenomenal.
Good job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And Sarah's right there too, so she's it's been tough.
We see those attractive new additions to the property, too.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully they won't be here too long.
Chair Gore, if could, so I had an opportunity to meet with Scott
Yeah.
and do a tour, and I know Eric, but I don't know the rest of the staff and Will's background or how long he's been with WAPMA.
Well, I can let these guys introduce themselves.
Good evening, Director. I'm Will Scheffler, the Operations Superintendent. I joined the authority in late 2021. My background is from Sacramento County, from the local enforcement agency there. For a long time there, I regulated the solid waste industry in Sacramento County before I came over and joined the dark side.
The dark side.
Yeah, I'm in the water quality world, so I would have considered you the dark side before you got here.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's go ahead. Since we do have a couple of new board members, it'd be great for them to know who everyone is, including our new council. So
Thank you, Chairman Gore.
Yeah, my name is Ryan Schmidt. I'm Associate Civil Engineer for the authority. Come from a background of environmental and geotechnical civil engineering specifically, and then mostly in the private sector, but working as a consultant for public agencies, and then kind of found my way here. That kind of seemed like a good combination between the two. So really working on all infrastructure and landfill related projects and developments on site here.
thank you. Sarah.
Hey, I'm Sarah Lyon. I'm one of the environmental resources specialists here, and I also come from a background of the enforcement side for lastly for Nevada County, and prior to that for Mendocino County with the local enforcement agency. And I am part of the operations team under Will.
Thank you.
And I'm Emily Hoffman. I am the Public Information Officer and interim clerk of the board for the WAPMA. My background prior to coming to the WAPMA in 2022 was working for local economic development organizations doing public relations and as a spokesperson. So happy to be here speaking for trash.
Thank you.
Trash talk.
Ethan.
Thank you. I'm Ethan Walsh. I'm an attorney with Best and Krieger, and I serve as your agency counsel. This is actually my first meeting as well. Our contract was approved at the last meeting. We're taking over for Mr. Sandman, who was just here, who had been the agency counsel for many years prior.
And Eric, who probably has the longest tenure in the,
Yeah.
who definitely has the longest tenure in the group.
Yeah, my name's Eric Otto. I'm the program manager at the Authority, and I think I was actually born here. I don't remember a life before the Authority. I've had a chance to do and see just about everything here, and but as I was telling Will and some of the other staff, it's what keeps this place fun and challenging is there's always something brand new, and so honestly, I've been here a little over 26 years, and this was the first time I got to do an all-nighter and manage contaminated water with Will and his team. So,
I'm glad it was the first time and hopefully never again.
and hopefully the
So,
last time as
yeah.
well. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Scott, if you just
the
want to
one
finish?
final item is also some good news is we were just notified by Cal Recycle that we received a $100,000 grant for household hazardous waste programs. And we actually got the notice to proceed with that, so that can be used immediately. It's earmarked for a new software system that will remove a lot of the paper out there and help us track things for compliance and reporting. So we're looking forward to that, and very good news. And Stephanie's not here tonight, but she did a great job applying for that grant and securing it for WAPMA. So
Great. Wonderful. Well, thank you. Appreciate that very much. Any questions?
No.
Okay, let's go to item 7B, which is financial reports. Eric?
Thank you very much. Your board has the financials through December in your package, and has been the case for the first 6 months of this fiscal year. We're tracking above our projections in revenue and below our projections for expenses, so very good there. I would like to highlight on the revenue, you'll see that we're about $7.4 million over where we thought we'd be. A good chunk of that is the organics grant money that we did receive. We've received just shy of $6 million. It's a first installment in payment, so that has really helped that bottom line right now. So with that, if there's any questions about the financials, I'm very happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Let's move to item 7C, which is the monthly tonnage reports. Will?
Good evening, Chairwoman Landon again, Board of Directors. I'm pleased to present the monthly tonnage reports across the board. For the month of January, tonnage is looking strong, as it is for the first 6 months of the year. Of note is C&D in January actually ticked up above our projections. Probably could thank a very dry January with only measurable rainfall occurring on January 3rd for that. Other than that, we are tracking around projections, and with that, I turn it over to your board for any questions.
Thank you, Will. Any questions?
I do have one random question. So my husband came to the landfill this weekend with a couple railroad ties and was turned away. And so I was like, I'm going to ask, what should we do with railroad ties, and how do people get rid of them? And maybe that's why people dump them on the side of the road. But I just wanted to find out what we can do with them.
Director Landon, absolutely. Railroad ties, along with large telephone poles, are a big source of treated wood waste in the area, in the waste shed. We don't take them here in that large of quantity by size itself, but NARS in Sacramento County, they do.
Okay.
So it is the treated wood waste and the sheer size and difficulty of handling that. We cannot size reduce it, which would be against California regulations, so it is buried, and it makes a very kind of difficult object to be sticking in the landfill like that.
Okay. I will tell him to stop trying to cause problems at the landfill. Thanks.
Well, thank you. We learned something new today.
Yeah.
No idea. All right. See, ask and you shall find out.
Yeah.
And I'll just add, at our council meeting, I was giving a report on all things going on here, and our mayor remarked that her brother had brought his mattresses here, 2 mattresses, and was taken aback by the fact that he could do it for free. And I said, well, you forgot my report from 2 years ago when I told you could do that for free. So, since he was turned away, the
Yes,
mayor's brother was very happy. Yeah.
Thank you. Item 7D, which is facility projects update.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Board. Going through the list here, looking at the MRF improvement projects. For Phase 2, the ADA improvements are still pending a cost estimate update from FCC's contractor. Once that's all dealt with, then that will begin immediately. And then while we do have temporary occupancy for the maintenance building, there are still some outstanding punch list items that are preventing them from actually being able to inhabit the building. But those are slowly being whittled down, and we expect for them to occupy that building very soon. For phase 3A, despite the percentages shown here, my most accurate I could give you is we're roughly 98% complete with the mechanical equipment and about like 93% of the electrical installation. So kind of trending with the fast pace that we've been able to move at for this phase of the project. So hope to give you that completion update soon or at our next meeting. Obviously, lots of tuning and final things that have to get done after the actual equipment has been placed, but still a great milestone to hit and see move forward. For the fire protection, the installation is still ongoing. The western and eastern processing areas are complete, and then the tipping floor and drive-through canopy are very near completion, and then the residue loadout area is also in progress, despite it saying that it will be followed by. It is in progress. And then fire watch is in place during this entire process. The alleyway construction continues. Obviously, you've seen the weather we've had, and a lot of this completion is dependent on weather. Even the freezing temperature, so even if it's not raining, the freezing temperature is also delaying that, because you can't pour concrete or asphalt below certain temperatures.
Ryan, where's the alleyway? Since
The
we have
alleyway
new
is
members.
in between the big pond and the MRF facility, so it kind of serves as a main thoroughfare to get through the site, instead of right now we have all of the traffic coming through this loadout, the previous loadout area. Normally that can be kind of split to just operational here, and then the rest of the traffic can use what we've termed as the alleyway. But it serves as a more direct path to the new C&D facility. But right now it's just all exposed soil, and they're just waiting for that time to get the asphalt and the concrete in there and finish that out. For phase 3B, that is on hold pending evaluation of the current site conditions. There was a number of there's a lot of concrete area that had degraded over time, just due to operations and weathering and the storage that was used in that specific area. So that has to be cut out, broken out, over excavated, recompacted, and brought to some sort of standard that the contractor can actually work with to then put those subsurface aeration trenches in there. So there is a redesign that has to go on to actually accommodate for all of that remediation. And then once that's complete, then they'll be able to start that. And we expect that removal and remediation to allow the project to begin again in March. And we also feel like there are enough kind of outstanding items that they can continue working on a lot of other things in the meantime, and maybe button up some of the other construction areas. For the certificate of occupancy update, there's no concrete update, but we do have the letter, and we have been working with the county and working on our end to actually develop a formal easement response that we can give to the county. And upon their acceptance and your board's acceptance when the time comes, then we can document and formalize those easements and then move forward to the permanent certificate of occupancy. If that process does take longer than this, we'll obviously be asking for extensions on the temporary certificate of occupancy. But for the meantime, we do project that it should be a fairly simple process to go through, and the county seems very ready to work with whatever we come up with. For the Module 6 liner project, Also, no updates, still working on closeout for the project, but the CQA report will be finalized next week and submitted to the Water Board. And I've already been in contact with the Water Board numerous times this week and last week, letting them know that it's coming and setting up meetings for as expedited of a review as possible so that we can begin filling in Module 6 as soon as we get that approval. For the SPWA compliance project, we're just working through now the purchasing and procurement of the granular activated carbon filtration system. And once that is actually finalized from a purchasing standpoint, we'll have that on site that following week and begin the trial of that equipment. And I'll turn it over to your board for any other questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions?
You know, I know we've asked this question before, and I asked this question in part for my colleagues to my sides here. I don't understand why the certificate of occupancy is contingent on easements in roads, that the roads don't have anything to do with the occupancy of this building. So I mean, why do we, why are we playing this game? I just don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have a better, but I'm not a planning professional, and I won't pretend to be, but a lot of title documents and permits are really, permits are attached to title documents for properties. So when we're asking for a certificate of occupancy, it brings up all of these old documents into the spotlight, and with the easements the way that they currently are, but not how the actual Sunset Area Plan and the way that the county's moving forward, they're not matching. So they're using this time to address those documents so that in the future we have no more hiccups with any permits in the future. I don't know if you guys have anything.
Nobody's going to ever deliver on that promise.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
So, yeah.
I don't have much.
Enough said.
Yeah.
I just, it's,
no, and it
it's,
is,
you know,
is a
the road
confusing-
doesn't have anything to do with this building. I mean,
No.
it's just,
No, it's just
it's
the
too much.
paperwork and procedures, unfortunately.
I know. Well, it just, you know, these two issues should be separated, and, you know, and it's wrong that it's not. So.
I'm gonna sidebar with you because I want to understand where the lot line is. Right, but not now. We'll do it later.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan. I realize well, now I'm going to open up item 7 to the public, since I didn't ask public comment on item 7. Anyone on any of those items want to make a comment? All right, close public comment. Yes, Scott.
Before we move off, I wanted to say thank you to outgoing Chair Landon for her leadership and her support and guidance over the last year. So the WATMA staff would like to give you this small token of our appreciation, just a plaque thanking you for all that you've done for WATMA for the last year.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Extra work when you're onboarding new people and doing a brand new structure of an organization, right? A little extra work. Thank you for stepping up. Appreciate that. All right, let's go to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be taken with one motion. We've got a number of items here. So anyone want to pull an item off the consent agenda? Anybody on the board? Anyone in the public? All right, so seeing none, we can take a motion.
I'll move the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Director Hodeschelt, second by Director Landon, and I think we probably need to take a roll call in case one of those is a budget amendment or something.
Director Hodeschelt,
Yes.
Director Landon,
Yes.
Director Reedy,
Yes.
Director Halden,
Yes.
Chair Gore.
Yes, thank you. And item 9A, the site-wide odor plan update.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. So the annual update of the site-wide odor plan, we referred to it as the SWAP, is to provide a summary of the best management practices, odor monitoring, public outreach, and other efforts being implemented at the facility to reduce the potential for off-site odors. The SWAP had not been updated since its adoption in 2020, so we took this opportunity to do that. These updates are outlined in the table titled List of Proposed Changes included with this memo. The updates have been approved by the Placer County Air Pollution Control District, and staff recommend the board approve them as well. In October, WATMA held the annual odor workshop at the facility. There were 32 participants, and that was an increase from the year prior. In addition to the residents who came to participate, we had a facility bus tour and odor workshop presentation. We had regulators from both the Placer County Air Pollution Control District as well as Environmental Health, along with staff from the South Placer Wastewater Treatment Plant who were present. Compared to the previous reporting period, the 2023-24 showed a 59% increase in the total number of odor notifications we received. Staff cannot say with certainty the reasons behind this increase, but it's believed that greater public outreach regarding the online odor notification tool that we have, along with impacts of ongoing construction for site improvements at the facility, were probably both a part of the upward trend. On a positive note, there's upgrades coming up underway for a covered composting system, which would transfer organic materials from the MRF to the composting facility via covered conveyor, and then the installation of the air purification system in the new MRF, both of which would have positive impacts on reducing off-site odors. And those should be done this year. That's it, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from directors?
I do have one quick question. I just wanted to make sure I understood. When it says there was a 59% increase in the total number of notifications, that's including Rio Bravo, or is that just on our side?
That was, I believe I took out the Rio Bravo notifications with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and so of those, it was determined that 33 of those notifications were likely directly related to WATMA or a combination of other source facilities around there and WATMA, just based on the air currents and things that we're trying to look at with our tools that we have. And that was compared to 15 that were determined to be either a combo or WATMA from the prior reporting period.
Okay.
So there was, that increase could be looked at like that as well.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
I have a quick question. That is, once the organics are covered, which is not yet the case, and it will be happening soon, remind me when, how much of a decrease do we anticipate in odors or odor complaints?
That's just going to be a fraction of the total.
I will note that the Gore covers, per their specifications, and I believe it was in the initial RIP plan that was submitted to your board, it said that they were anticipating a reduction of 85% by keeping them contained in the Gore covers.
Of the odors
Of the
or
odor
the
potential.
organics?
Yes.
Right, which is, I don't know what we smelt today when we walked out, right? It like hit me like a ton of bricks today. And when you have the really wet weather and wind just right, is that the organics or is it something else?
Yeah, let me talk about kind of some of the increases. The operator has had some difficulty managing the oxygen levels in the ponds, the compost ponds, specifically the South Compost Pond. Early on in the season, where it did go anaerobic, and when you have that many millions of gallons of compost water that's in a state of anaerobic oxygen content, it is very hard to force it back into an aerobic one, and that also, forcing it back, is a odorous process because you are trying to aerate it itself, and which aerosolizes some of that off-smelling particles. So that's likely what we have seen this fall and into the spring, and what you're smelling now. The operator is actively working on correcting that, but it is a time-consuming process because there's a lot of water that is stuck one way that you're trying to change.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Will.
How does it get that way in the first place?
So the ponds are equipped with a aeration system. Basically, it looks like as Emily would call it, forbidden jacuzzi, that provides basically like if you have a fish tank, a little aeration stone, it's like that on steroids, right, that inject water deep down and let it bubble up. That way to keep a nice oxygen level. So the aerators were down in disrepair early on, and that allowed that water in the fall, those warm months, to go to anaerobic state. And with the aeration system back on and the accumulation of water, it's hard to force it back into the state that you want it.
So, forgive my newness here. Are there requirements for the operator to address defective equipment like this in a timeline, and was that followed in this case?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a time frame. They did have changeover in staff, so a lot of things I think maybe slipped by, but they are definitely trying to make up for lost time, injecting catalysts to increase the oxygen on a shorter basis to kind of help biology on its way to get that back to aerobic state.
And that timeline is another month or two, or what's that like?
I believe they indicated about a 1 month process.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Great questions, and a jacuzzi we would actually not want to sit in. Just saying. All right, if there's no other questions from my colleagues, anyone, we'll open it up to public. Any public comment? All right, bringing it back to the board for action.
I will move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion approval for item 9A, 1 and 2. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And next we have item 9B, the fiscal year 2025-26 tipping fee increase evaluation.
Yes, thank you, Chair Gore. So tonight, staff is requesting direction from your board regarding a general tip fee increase in 25-26. So I do want to make it very clear we're not asking your board to vote on an increase at this time, just looking for feedback from you. So we did want to provide an evaluation of what the economics are looking like for the authority over the next couple of years and help that determine if and how we should be amending the rates over the next couple of years. So as I've reported many times in the past, right now our financial forecasts are really being heavily driven by the fact that we have the outstanding bonds that are used to construct the MRF, and we have a rate covenant in those bonds that we need to ensure that we have enough money set aside to demonstrate that we can easily pay off our debt service. So that becomes the primary metric that staff use to gauge our financial health, is making sure that we're able to meet that covenant. That covenant is 125% of our annual operating maintenance costs. So we need to generate an additional 125% of that value and have that ready there for debt service. If we fall below that, we could be in default to the bonds. And so it's a very critical number to stay above. And so for that reason, staff recommend that we target a value closer to at least 135%. That provides a little bit of flexibility should there be variations in the amount of waste that's delivered here or any kind of spike in costs or anything else like that. It just gives us a little bit of wiggle room. And some of those items that could impact the cost, both positively and negatively, I note in the second paragraph of the staff report, so I won't go through that again. But we used a framework to look at, as we were playing with the financial forecast and evaluating what the rate increases may need to be. And so we used a series of assumptions or kind of benchmarks in which to start that process by. And the first one, as your board has noted to staff in the past, is to the degree possible, let's keep modest, consistent rate increases year over year so that we avoid, spikes, any kind of big spikes for future years. And further, to the degree that we can keep those rates under inflation, that's going to be good for all of our consumers. So that was one of the kind of key metrics that we used when we were looking at the potential rate increases. The next was noting no significant known deviations of the amount of materials and the types of materials that would be received here over the next couple of years, and same with operational expenses, no big swings. You know, there's always a lot of unknowns, but we try and keep things as stable as possible. Third is, at this point in time at least, we plan on utilizing $1 million from the Rate Stabilization Fund to kind of help buffer the finances in 25-26, and for our new directors, the Rate Stabilization Fund was set up with the bond, so any of that additional revenue that we have at the end of the year, we dump into the Rate Stabilization Fund. That can be used by your board for any legal purpose. Generally, the bondholders don't like to see us use that to offset operational revenues, but we can do that time to time, and so we are recommending it for this coming year. But it also sets up a nice seed fund to help pay off the bonds early, and that's one of the other items that I'll talk about here momentarily, I guess. In terms of, again, the kind of background structure, as been noted several times in reports tonight, we plan on the improvements being done by July of this year, and hope to see material diversion rates start to increase by the latter half of the year, sometime in probably September. The reason why that has a bearing on the finances is that more material will be directed to the MRF, and we pay FCC a higher rate for materials that are sent to the MRF to be processed. So our operational costs will go up on the MRF side. We'll see some decline on the landfill side by virtue of sending less material to the landfill, but it will have a net increase in cost for us by sending more material to the MRF. On the good side, I mentioned earlier, we've received about $6 million of our $10 million organics grant. We anticipate probably seeing about another $1.1 million this fiscal year, with the balance coming in next fiscal year. And then, as I noted previously, the rate stabilization funds, we're looking at using that to pay out the landfill bonds at their first call, which would be in July of 2027. So that would allow your board, should you decide to do so, to pay out those bonds instead of paying them over 20 years, pay them off in full after 5 years and save those interest payments, which at this point, staff anticipated somewhere on the order of about $3 million in interest that we would save. So there's a number of other factors that could certainly influence the financials over time, both positively and negatively, as noted here. Increased inflation or other broader economic volatility could have an influence on both our costs here and our revenues. Certainly when we see higher inflation and more of a downward pressure on the community, we see everybody being a little bit tighter in what they throw away and being a little more careful in what they throw away. We could see changes in facility usage patterns by customers that are not bound to come here by flow commitment agreements. We have seen that on the construction and demolition side a little bit, partly maybe because of the rates, partly because of difficulties with accessing the site during construction. But there's nothing to preclude many of these customers from choosing a different option. We could see increased operational and administrative costs with newer changing regulatory requirements. Obviously, we have very little control over that, and we're a very regulated industry, so there's no chance that that's going to lighten up anytime soon. But on the positive side, again, noting that, as Scott noted with the HHW grant, we're always looking for grant opportunities out there. So any places where we can generate some additional revenues to help offset costs, we'll do that. We're still working on developing on-site compatible technologies. We'll be bringing items forward to your board in the coming months to help site facilities here that will generate some additional rent and royalties for the authority. And then there continues to be increased interest by entities outside of Placer County to utilize this facility. Likely it'll be for multifamily housing or commercial entities that are having difficulty in achieving the SB 1383 requirements, where this facility is designed to meet those needs. So it really puts us in an interesting position where there could be entities outside Placer County that would want to use this facility. So that's another item that we'd bring forward to your board in the coming months to open up that opportunity to handle some of those flows. But a lot of these are very speculative, so we didn't want to start building them into the financial forecast at this point. We wanted to be a little more conservative as we go through these through this exercise. So as a result of this, and at this point, I think I'd like to direct your board's attention to Exhibit A, which is on page 55 of your packet. And it is a summary of the financial forecast, the main metrics over the next couple fiscal years. And at this point, looking out over a multi-year period, staff are recommending a 2.5% year-over-year rate increase for the next 3 years. And then should your board elect to pay out the landfill bonds early, you can see in 28, 29, we'd be able to drop that down to 1%. So at that point, we're at that, it could be nominal, it could be zero, but a very, very low year-over-year rate increase. And then at the very bottom of that table, you see the coverage values. And I think what I'd really like to draw your board's attention to is in 26 and 27, we're right there at about that 135% coverage level. So it begs the question, well, why should we even raise rates in 25, 26 if we're looking okay in that period and just worry about it down the road, just kick the can, so to speak? Well, if your board were to hold off making a rate increase for 25, 26, it has a knock-on effect to future fiscal years. And so as I was doing a little bit of analysis, for every 1 percentage point that we increase or decrease the rate increase for 25, 26, it has about a 6 percentage point difference on the coverage values. So, looking at the future fiscal years, let's say, for example, your board said, let's not do any rate increase for 25, 26 at all. We would likely be in default of the bonds in the next 2 fiscal years. The only way we'd be out of that is to jump the rates back up at probably 5-6% to make up for that. So again, getting back to this idea of having a very slow, kind of steady, consistent rate increase that's hopefully under the inflationary rate, it really minimizes that impact to the customers. So with this 2.5% rate increase, just to kind of give your board a sense of what that means to a typical residential customer, it would be roughly 50 cents a month to your typical one-toter customer. That would generate a little bit over $1 million in additional revenue for the authority and set us on pace for being solid in terms of the coverage covenant over the next several fiscal years. So with that, I'd like to turn it back to your board. We're, again, just looking for direction. If your board says, yes, we'd be open to a 2.5% rate increase, we'll bring that back in March for your board to consider and approve. That would give chance to have the the open comment for anybody who's interested, and give all the member agencies and the haulers the opportunity to inform their customers to comply with Prop 218. So, but if your board wants to do a larger rate increase, smaller rate increase, we can come back next month with some information on that. But at this point, would be recommending a 2.5% rate increase. So with that, I'll turn it back to your board. I know that's a lot of information, a lot of numbers, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Eric. Questions? Bill?
Just want to understand when we're trying to meet the 125% coverage, can we use rate stabilization funds in that calculation, or can we not? I thought we couldn't.
We cannot.
We cannot.
But what we can do, and as I'm noted, what staff are recommending is that periodically and infrequently, we can pull from that rate stabilization fund and help augment the revenues for a fiscal year. We just want to use that very sparingly, so to speak. But that does not play into those coverage covenants.
So the calculation of 147% backs out the rate stabilization number?
Correct, because at that point, that money has not, we're not counting any of those, anything in that rate stabilization fund. It really is based on just raw revenues coming in and the operations and maintenance expenditures going out. So it doesn't take into account anything that is sitting in any of the reserve accounts, which the rate stabilization fund is effectively like a reserve.
Right. And how much do we have in the rate stabilization fund now?
Oh boy, I should have, I was trying to be prepared for many of these, and that one I didn't think of. I think at this point, we're at about 13 million.
13.
Yes. So the plan at this point, the way that that staff have been running the financial forecast, is to set your board up so that at the 5-year point when the first call happens on the landfill bonds, they could be paid entirely with some money still left over, and then continue to generate money so that the MRF bonds could be paid off at their 10-year call should your board wish to do that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you. Who else has questions?
I'm going to circle back. What's going on 27, 28? So I'm on Exhibit A. So the gross revenue goes up. I assume that's because you're talking about the 6.9 transfer, right?
That is correct.
So that's just a financial thing. How is the expenses bumping up and then coming back down?
So the expenses in this case would be a payoff of those bonds.
Okay, so we're putting it in and taking it out, but it's not O&M.
Right.
I mean, it's not operating. It's in that category, but it's
Correct.
not
Yeah.
actual.
It's in that category, but it's essentially it's a immediate in.
It's a financial thing again too. So just trying to understand following up with Director Haldeman, the 147% for 25-26. That's including 1 million of essentially you're adding $1 million of income coming from the reserve, right? That's what you're doing
Correct.
there? Okay.
That's correct.
So you do that to get 140% because you want to be at 135, but if you don't do it, you would be lower than 147, but still above 135?
Perhaps, yes, and that's something that as the fiscal year continues and we see how our revenues and our expenditures are tracking, and when we get to the point where we bring the preliminary budget to your board, at that point, you would make a firm recommendation. And that we plan on doing that probably somewhere around May. So this is, that snapshot as of January. It appeared using that $1 million would be prudent to put us in a solid position over the next several fiscal years.
Okay, and then you made a comment earlier in your presentation about if we didn't do it in 25-26, it would negatively impact 26 and 27, I think you said.
That's correct.
How does that work? Because it seems like it's a one-time bump in revenue. How does that change what's happening with the operations and revenue in the following? I don't understand the correlation between doing this one thing in one fiscal year and how it impacts the percentage in the following.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and I may have misspoke, so if I did, I apologize. I was referring to the rate increase for 25-26, and so if your board elected not to do the...
Right, you're not getting the benefit of 2 years when you get to the second year.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, great questions. Director Hodeschelt?
Yeah, a couple questions. Sorry, I had an opportunity to focus on something here. So on Exhibit A, in Note D, is that a typo?
Yes, it is. Yes, I caught that. So it should be by virtue. There's no L in virtue.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there might be. I don't know. And then are the waste discharge permit fees covered in this?
They are. Yes, they are.
And I was looking, because I know every year in ag, our non-point source fees get to be about 5%. So I was wondering how this 2.5% could potentially cover the increase in the waste discharge permit fees.
So all of our permit fees probably they probably come in at about $300,000 a year.
Oh,
so
I'll pay your fee, you pay mine. Mine's mine's $1 million.
So in comparison to our overall budget, they're relatively small. Our biggest budget items are the MRF landfill.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I think I had one question. When we originally went out for the bond and we did projections, do you recall, Eric, what we projected we would have increases be?
Yes, and that is one that I did prepare. So
good. I'm glad I asked the
that
question.
So we anticipated that starting in 25-26, for 4 years, it would be 2%. So we are projecting a little bit higher at this point for the next 3 years, but then a drop off in 28-29. So it isn't significantly different than what we had projected at that point.
But what we could do, right, we look at this next year, depending on what happens with any of these other items, that number could be reduced based on bringing in additional
Absolutely.
revenues, all sorts of different things, right? Circular economy things, whatever it is. So these could change, but I was curious. So we had looked at the first 5 years at 2%, not 2.5%.
Correct. Yeah, and in fact, if you'll recall, when we did the rate increase last time several years ago, your board approved a 3-phase or close to 3-year rate increase. And I think, given at this point in time, I don't think I would recommend doing that again. I would do a year by year just because of some of these things that could significantly impact and improve our revenue picture.
Right.
So, you know, to set some of those rates in stone ahead of time may not be necessary.
Okay, great, thank you. No other questions? I'll open this item up to the public. Any comments from the public? All right, I'll bring it back to the board for any further discussion. We just want, you know, I guess the question is, all right, do you feel okay with 2.5%? You know, it'd be nicer if it was only 2, but 2.5% is still minimal in
You
comparison.
know, thanks for asking that question. It triggered it. So the process is you talk to the partners in the JPA, right? And there's a technical advisory committee?
There is, yes.
And you've run this by the technical advisory committee?
We have.
And they have a recommendation?
Not so much a recommendation, but there wasn't there didn't appear to be any concerns or voiced concerns by any of the group at that point.
Yeah, and I noted in your staff report, it's like 50 cents per month per household, so, okay.
All right.
I'm going to let Member Halden make the motion.
Well, I don't, we're not really,
motion.
we're really just providing direction. So the question is, do we feel comfortable enough having them come back with a potential 2.5%?
Yeah. I'm comfortable with the 2.5%, and I think, as to your point, I think if we're reevaluating each year to see, then it's quite possible it goes down next year, but it seems like a fair increase, which is with the way inflation is. I feel like at least we're staying below that threshold, so I'm comfortable with it.
Any other dissension?
2's better than 2.5, but you got to do the math.
Right.
And I apologize for this. So this is all done in-house? There's not a consultant that does this?
That is correct. It's all
Okay.
in-house.
And how much time and cost is it for us to do it in-house?
It's just part of my regular enjoyable duties, so.
Yeah, all right.
You know.
I'm
He's
good.
become the number guy, which has been
Yes.
very helpful.
That's all right. Then I'm good with it, right?
Duties and, you know,
Yeah.
extra duties as assigned type
Yep.
of thing. Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good with it.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank
Chair.
you, Eric. Appreciate the thorough presentation. All right, let's see. Then that brings us to, I like this and don't like this. But this is our next item, which is a resolution commending Robert Sandman for his service to the WAPNA.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is very bittersweet, at least for me. So we are recommending that your board adopt a resolution commending Mr. Sandman for his 25 years of service to the authority. And it was really kind of shocking when I talked with Rob at one point. He said, yeah, I've been here for 13 years. And then I started digging through old board agendas, and his first meeting was in June of 1999. Now, he was, you know, a little bit sporadic at that point, a couple months here, a couple months there, and it wasn't until January of 2012 that he was your full-time counsel. And certainly in that time, you know, Rob has been very diligent in providing your board very thoughtful, consistent, ethical, moral counsel, keeping all of us here in check and keeping us, you know, making sure that we had fantastic advice to do all the things that we need to do for this agency. You know, I personally have learned so much from Rob and have appreciated his guidance in many cases. And so I think I can probably speak for all of us here that have had the opportunity to work with Rob that this agency is much better for his input over the years. And while not noted in this staff report, the item that your board heard and approved earlier with Sierra College, Rob had a very large hand in getting that over the finish line. So he provided your board very sound guidance and counsel, staff, and he worked very diligently with Sierra College's counsel to make that, you know, a reality tonight. So with that, I'll turn it back to your board. Like I say, I wish he didn't need to go, but I know that, you know, things change, we move on, and let's celebrate what we had, not what we're losing.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. Would any of the directors like to make any comments?
I don't know him, so.
All right, that's okay.
And I didn't chase him off.
You haven't lived life yet, if you don't know.
So I just, Rob, it's been, a pleasure having you do all these things, for us. And we haven't always been an easy group, some little conflict with this organization or that county or somebody like that. So it's put you, I think, at times in an awkward spot. So you'll probably be relieved to not be in that awkward spot anymore. But really appreciate your professionalism and cool demeanor when some of us might get a little excited about something. So, the great thing is you're still around. So if anybody ever says, hey, we need the county to move on something, I'll say, oh, call Rob, get things going. So.
Well, you must have been born here too, because you've been here so long too. And I am so thankful for you. I feel like you have such a calming presence, and just, I so much appreciate your, as Eric pointed out, ethical leadership, and just you're by the book, and I appreciate that because that's what your job is. But you just do such a good job, as Director Halden mentioned, of just keeping us on the rails. And you really are leaving a legacy here in the things that you've been engaged with. And I just really appreciate you so much, and appreciate the work that you put in. And I don't think I've ever seen you in a bad mood. Maybe you were and you hit it well, but you just are a really great guy, and I thank you so much for your service to the WAMA.
And Rob, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in all seriousness, legal counsel is incredibly important in everything. Just to make sure, board members who are not subject matter experts understand the risk or reward, they understand the sideboards of all of the decisions that have to be made in the public's interest. So thank you. And I don't know what your ringtone is, but I think of Metallica's song, Enter Sandman. So.
Thank you for always making us laugh. Rob, I want to say thank you, especially the last 5 years with RFP for a $120 million facility, and executing contracts and bonds, working with bond counsel, and all the work, and then the changeover with how the WAPNA is structured. It has been a lot of work the last several years. And when somebody's behind the scenes, we don't recognize it, because when it goes smoothly up here, it's because you've done your job. And you've just done so much. So I really, really appreciate it. We've really asked you to do a lot of extra work. So thank you. I also want to say thank you for pushing back on the county of Placer at the appropriate times, as you had your WAPNA hat on, and you pushed back with the county where it was appropriate, and you did that well, and that was really important. So I appreciate that. And I think along the way you have learned an awful lot about a MRF and a dump that you never thought you would. Like all of us, it's a fascinating business, and I really appreciate it. So hopefully you will join us as we do our ribbon cutting event coming up, I think, in the spring. It would be great to have you with us. So thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Would you like to make a comment? I'll make sure we.
Chair, if I could say one thing, because I was sitting here and I completely failed to do so, but I did want to acknowledge two very important women in Rob's life that are here tonight, his wonderful wife, Allie. And you can see by how red Rob is, he did not know she'd be here tonight.
Oh, that's
and
so nice.
Jenna Porter, who keeps Rob honest in the office, and I work with Jenna quite a bit to coordinate Rob's schedule. So Jenna, thank you for being here.
I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah.
I couldn't place it.
So just really wanted to call out those two people that I think, all of us need a tremendous support system, and I see those two people as being really paramount to Rob's success.
And just before you go, Rob, I've only been here 7 months, but I'm not sure I would be sitting at this table tonight if it weren't for your help over those last 7 months, getting me here and getting me up to speed, and your knowledge and your help and your guidance. It's truly been I just can't even state how much I appreciate it, and WAPMA appreciates it, and Ethan, you've got tough shoes to fill. You know that. You know that. But so I just say personally, thank you very much for everything you've done for me.
I'll be brief. It's all incredibly flattering. I'm so thankful to my family for my Thursday nights, by the way.
Yeah.
My wife, thank you, and Jenna, thanks so much for getting me in the right place at the right time. And very thankful to the board, current and certainly the predecessors who were here. It was a great run. Our office, I think we did a good job for the authority, and it's the right time to transition, and we certainly support, and I really appreciate the board's support in the transition. Ethan, thanks for coming on board. And I thank all the staff, current and former, many great people I've worked with over the years. I have a particular thank you to Eric. We've talked a lot over the years. I know Scott relatively recently, and Will and Ryan, Sarah, Emma, whole 9 yards. It's been really great. And I will now move on from being counsel to a customer. So I do appreciate everybody's help and support from the board and everybody else.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you for your service.
Yay.
All right, I'll bring it back to our board for just to take action.
I'll move to adopt.
Second?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. And then with that, we'll just move on quickly. Any reports from directors? No? I want to say welcome to Director Reedy from Lincoln, Director Hodeschelt. Glad to have you aboard. And just a reminder to any questions that you have, which may be a lot, they are Scott's available. Ask away. It's a big learning curve, but it's fascinating. So really glad that you are here. Anything else? And any upcoming agenda items that anybody wants to have?
I just, I'd like to, given our rate stabilization fund and its growth, maybe just have a discussion about what we're doing with that money. What's our plan, anything. So I think that'd be good for us to hear about that.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, if nothing else, then we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.